Hello. All right, I wanted to share a couple updates to this web app I'm working on for all of you. I'm pretty excited about some of the stuff, so I wanted to walk through some of it before I release it. It's all in staging right now. Plan on pushing it to production for all of you to use in the coming week or weeks. Um, and I'm just refining and making sure things work and show you some of the stuff. So you know the data log viewer already, so I won't go through that. But one thing I hinted at already is there's a full virtual dyno setup. This is using all the same strategies that vDyno and other virtual dynamos use that everybody's been using for years now. But I figured I wanted to tie it into this app and just work off the loaded logs that you put in here. And one of the big pain points I had with vDyno and some other things is that you always have to trim the data logs if you have multiple wide open throttle pools in the data logs. Um, you don't have to do that here. So as you can see here, it's recognizing all the wide open throttle areas of this data log. There's three of them. And basically you can switch in between them and uh, just do it there. It's seamless. You don't have to do any trimming. You can check it out. Um, I added the ability, there's presets basically, so pretty much have all the modern BMWs. I got the G series, got the F series, got the M cars, Supras, Z4s, M5s, X3, X5. And what happens when you select one of these things is that this is a data log off a manual transmission Supra. So right now it's set to automatic. I'll switch it to the Supra 6 manual transmission. And pretty much all the presets already come in. You can actually change it. So you don't have to mess around with gearing, aero, and all that stuff, the way of the car. It's all kind of preset. You can come in and tweak these things if you want. You can change the smoothing. You can set your tire size. So let's say this car was using actually 275, 35, 18 instead of 19. And the chart changes appropriately depending on that. So if I do 225, you can see that it changes. Same thing with driver weight. Say you want a weight loss, drop 50 pounds. It accommodates that as well. All right, but the biggest thing I wanted to show is I have this bin view and compare section. So let's go to that. And I don't have a bin file currently loaded, so it's asking me to load a bin file. So I'll grab my personal stock bin. It loads that. At this point, you can go through all the tables that are in this XDF file that are auto-recognized after I loaded this bin. So you don't even have to go find the XDF file, it just finds it. This is my own personal XDF file. There's a lot of defined tables that aren't in the normal MHD and MG Flasher XDFs. So you'll see some stuff here that you haven't seen before, or maybe you have, but it's not in the normal available XML. All right, so I have my bin file loaded. I can go into, let's say, Boost, and basically you can click on just, pretty much like Tuner Pro. You just go through and see these tables. The thing I added, which I think is going to be very helpful for everybody, because I hear from people all the time, like, hey, what does this table do? What does it influence? What tables is it related to? Essentially, this description that I have in all the tables, there are some missing, but overall, about probably 90-95%, there's descriptions for every table. This is pulled from BMW documentation. This is not a guess. This is something that somebody made up or thinks it works this way. This is full documentation from the function documents from BMW. And so what I have here is a synopsis of what the table does, what the axes are. So in this example, it's base boost pressure and has a description of what it does. It's engine speed by load and pressure ratio. And the purpose of it is basically the foundation preload of the boost. Raising values here increases boost across all driving modes. And then there's the related tables to this. So let's go to, say, load correction factor. So this is the correction factor applied to the base boost pressure target. which is the table I just looked at. And X and Y are engine speed and load. And this is a fine trim multiplier on the base boost map, right? So this is what it does. And that's straight from BMW. It's not my guess. It's not somebody else's guess. It's what it does. So I have that for pretty much, again, well, of course, I picked one that didn't have a description, but that's because it wasn't in the function doc. So just don't have it. But this one has a description, temperature change due to turbine expansion. So this is basically the model of the turbine. It converts turbine inlet EGT and pressure ratio to predicted post-turbine temperature for catalyst and exhaust component protection. So this is basically a component protection map. All right, cool. Cool story, right? Let's now, you can also load a compare bin. So I'm going to load my latest tune. It's the same idea as the first bin. And now what you'll see when I go to those same tables, first of all, you see all the tables that are changed. So there's 1,109 tables in this XDF. 739 of them are changed. I tuned the car. This is actually a good reminder to say, like, you know, if there's only 10 or 20 tables changed in your calibration, probably not a real tune. Just gonna say that. All right, so let's go back to these tables. I can now filter from it showing all the tables in the XDF to changed only. So these are between the bin file I have loaded over here and the one I'm comparing it to. There's 739 tables changed, and it basically filters by that. So I'll go back to all. You'll see that shows grayed out ones that haven't been changed, shows the ones that have been changed, and it kind of just tells you how many cells have been changed, like how much has it been changed. And let's go back to that base boost pressure map. So now you'll see that now that I have this compared bin loaded, I have the base, which is this file. I have the modified, which is the compared bin file, and then I have the delta between the two. So when I click modified, it shows the difference between base and modified, and then the delta shows me how much less or more each cell is. And that's pretty much for all the tables. So let's go to, say, cooling. So it's M240i, so it's got an active shutter grill. Here's that. Here's the description. Here's what the accesses are. Here's the purpose of it. Here's how I modified it. Basically made it open. So the delta. Shows me the delta. I think this is really cool. Pretty much like I said, pretty much 90% plus tables have descriptions, real description about what they actually do, what the accesses actually are. No guesses whatsoever. And you can just go through this. I think it's going to be really helpful for people that are new to tuning or figuring out what certain tables do or reminders of it. It's going to be super, super helpful. Here's a good example. Here is the, injection start angle, and there's the related table, which is the super knock. When it sees super knock, it goes into this table, tells you all about it here. Did I modify it? Didn't modify it. There's no changes. All right, this is going to come soon. Just wanted to share some updates. Thanks, guys.